Alright. I can't find the stream, eh? Mod's working, that's good. Yep. Party audio is working, streams up, chats up, we're all good to go. That's fantastic. Just have to wait a little while, folks. Get everyone into the lobby. It's not going to be the biggest field in the world. We're only set to have 15 cars for this race. But, yeah. Once everyone gets in, get on the way. As you can see as well, we'll be using multiplayer cards for this event. I'll probably touch more on that as we head into qualifying, because it is an interesting topic. Bit of a frustrating one, to be completely honest. Though the situation seems to be fixed, we're just sticking with the multiplayer cars for this week. That way we can put more testing into the game to see if the problems have actually been fixed. Thankfully these guys have coordinated themselves pretty well. We've got some wide variety of different colours. We do have a fair few black cars, which is okay. Hopefully I'll be able to pick them out fairly easily, hopefully. I think this should be everyone, I think. Don't know who else we'll be waiting on. I'll double check the attendance sheet. There we got the reserves in. Yeah, that should be everyone. That should be everyone. Hello, Schultz. Best of luck. Qualifying in the race as well. Yeah, Campbell, we're all good. See you. There we go. No, you'll be alright. You get through turn 1, lap 1, you should be alright. Hello, Deathstorm. Yeah, break week was a bit impromptu, but necessary considering what happened with the game. The state of the game. Didn't stop other leagues from competing though, so... I think we'll have under 3 safety cars, Harris, I think. We don't have a huge number of drivers in the lobby. Not that it's impossible to have over 3 safety cars. But I think we'll have under. It's an interesting track, Monza. See what it's like. Anyway, hello everyone and welcome to round 7 to the AM1 Championship here on Contest of Speed. I'm Lane Everingham, your commentator for this event. And this time we're competing at Autodromo Nazionale Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. The oldest and one of the most prestigious racing facilities in the world of motorsport. Monza was constructed in 1922 and has utilized and has been utilised in almost every season of the Formula One World Championship. It's hosted a wide variety of racing disciplines, including endurance racing, sports car championships, GT racing, and even on two occasions the final round of the World Rally Championship. But of course, it's most recognised with Formula One being the home circuit for Scuderia Ferrari and the sport's iconic Temple of Speed. It's a relatively simple layout, measured up at 3.6 miles, consists of 11 corners and 2 DRS zones that lead into the prime overtaking spots of Variante del Rettifilo and Variante Ascari. Drivers can also try and pass into Variante della Roggia, the circuit's second chicane, and Curva Michele Alboreto, better known as Parabolica, right at the end of the racetrack. But even with the plethora of overtaking opportunities, it will be difficult for drivers to climb their way up through the order. So qualifying well will be important for achieving victory today. Speaking of which, with the massive average speeds achieved on this circuit, qualifying should hopefully be fairly competitive, particularly in the midfield. But before we touch more on qualifying, there is a bit of news to go through first. From the previous race at Albert Park, there were only 2 incident reports, one of which resulted in no further action. The other resulted in a 5-second time penalty and 1 penalty point for Emmett. Emmett ended up retiring from that race, so the only thing that will affect him is the penalty point. It also means that the final finishing positions from that race remain completely unchanged. In the Drivers' Championship, it's Vermu who leads the way on 109 points, followed by Silkweaver on 70. Because of Red Devil's win at Albert Park, he vaults up 4 positions to 3rd. He sits on 56 points. Behind him is Kryptonic on 51 and Saint as well on 51 points. In the Teams Championship, Mercedes are leading. They're on 149. They got a really comfortable lead over Haas. They're on 96 points. AlphaTauri complete the top 3 on 79. So yeah, this has been an interesting little period when it comes to F1 23. One of the most recent updates that we've had to this game completely screwed up the equal performance setting with this game, where we would use official cars, set the cars to official performance, set the cars to equal performance, and they weren't equal whatsoever. So a lot of leagues, including Contest of Speed, have had to switch to multiplayer cars to find that equal performance. Now, there was an update very recently that did supposedly fix this. I have heard messages saying that that wasn't the case and it wasn't fixed at all, but I'm now starting to hear messages that yes, it is actually fixed. So I think this will be the only week where we will be using multiplayer cars. I think after this we should return back to the official racing machines. But for now, I've got to make do with all the black dots making their way around the racetrack. Brody is the first driver to attempt a flying lap. He's making his way down towards Variante Ascari. Man, I'm all over the place today. Really nice. This famous chicane is easily the most technical part of the racetrack. Turns 8, 9, and 10. Really easy to get it wrong through there, particularly through turn 10. If you cut too much of that inside curb, you can very easily lose the back end of the car and potentially throw it into a barrier. Brody makes his way around. Oh, Parabolica! He Raikkonens it and puts it into the wall. Dearie me. He had a properly big snap of oversteer. Thankfully, he's still running. Bad Fast sets the first flying lap of the session on the medium compound tyre as well. 1 minute 21.386 is the benchmark for everyone else to try and beat. Nortec starting a flying lap as Red Devil jumps to the top. He makes his way out of Variante del Rettifilo and towards Curva Grande, turn 3. My ride on board, give you a complete tour of this lap. It's absolutely flat out round this right-hander as we head up towards Variante della Roggia, turns 4 and 5 on the racetrack. Saint now jumps to the top with an 18.7. Up towards the Lesmo curves, around turn 6, and up towards turn 7. Breaking out the 50 board, bringing it down to 5th gear, back on the power. He opens DRS and heads towards Ascari. Building up to a speed of 218 miles an hour. Brings it out to 5th gear through turn 8. Then through 9 and turn 10. Onto the back straightaway that heads towards Parabolica. Turn 11. Very important corner to get right on this circuit. So you can carry as much speed as possible down the main straightaway. Up towards the line now for Nortec, he'll set a 20.380. Currently second slowest out of the time sets, but we're only in the early stages of qualifying. We've got a long way to go. Shaw's making his way round the Lesmo curves. Very easy to get it wrong through here as well. You don't want to run too wide at the exit of turn 7. You can beach the car on top of the outside curb. It's not a nice sensation, and there's a decent chance you could end up in the barrier, the car spinning out on you. I say, I do like the design as he makes a hash of turn 10. Thankfully, though, he doesn't put it in the wall, doesn't put it into a gravel trap even, keeps it on the black stuff. Got Wingett getting ready for a flying lap. We got Orlando out on track in a Verstappen-mobile as he heads up towards Parabolica. Braking hard down to 6th gear, back on the power. Out to the final corner and back down the main straightaway. Orlando will set a 20.1. He goes 7th fastest overall. Doubly very low in battery. It appears that he might have done 2 flying runs there. They'll explain why he's used up so much battery. Red Devil up by 0.2 of a second to the middle sector as he heads towards the final turn. Even without DRS, the car is capable of reaching 208 miles an hour. Also running the tribute design for the Williams F1 team for their 800th race. Incredible longevity in the sport as Red Devil improves by half a second to set a 19.2. No one in the 18s bar Saint, so some of these guys have got a fair bit of work to do to try and get provisional pole position. Brody elects to go back into pit lane, and Orlando, he's invalidated that lap, so I think a lot of drivers are just making their way back into the pits for the most part. Hopefully we'll be able to see a little bit of action soon. Lando making his way back in. We got a couple of cars making their way out. Who are they? We got Kryptonic. And the car behind, a white car. That must be bad fast. It is. We've got a little while to wait until the drivers begin their flying laps. Excuse me, not much to touch on, frankly. I say, this design is something. Look at it. The vibrancy. Gee whiz. Out of all the multiplayer cars I've seen, this is a completely new one. I love it. Very easy to pick out. Makes his way through Variante Ascari. Kryptonic currently P4 with a 20.0. If he improves by just a 10th, he'll be able to jump up a place. Jumping up any more than that, though, requires a hell of an effort. To get Red Devil, he will need to improve by just under 0.8 of a second. And that's a lot of time to find around a racetrack that only has 11 corners. See what they can do, though. Down the main straightaway towards turn 1. DRS wide open. Building up to a speed of 21 miles an hour. Down into turn 1. Second gear. Modulates the throttle. Eventually reaches full power. Head around Curva Grande. Turn 3. Hugging the inside line the whole way round. And up towards Variante della Roggia. He's currently up by 35 thousandths to the first sector. So not a huge amount of time found. See what Kryptonic can do here in the middle sector. Around the first Lesmo curve, up towards the second. And we're down to fourth gear. Short shift up to fifth, up to sixth. Seventh gear, DRS open. Eighth gear. Good to see that the steering wheel glitch is still very much a thing. As Kryptonic's up by almost 3.5 tenths. He goes through Ascari. Very tidy there. Down the back straightaway towards Parabolica. Oh, hello. Brody's been disqualified. What's happened here? Well, he's facing... Oh, he's done the exact same thing as he did on his flying lap. And apparently the game said he was driving the wrong way. Which is a tad bit ridiculous considering, well, he was in the gravel trap. But anyway, the game's disqualified him. Brody will be starting from the very back in 15th position. So Kryptonic does a 19.8. He jumps to third. Bad fast. Jumps up a few places. He's up to fifth with a 20.089. Got three drivers in the 20.1s. We've got Hunger and Orlando out on track at the moment. Silkweaver is still in the pit lane, as we now got Vermu out on track as well. Vermu making his way out of turn 7. He'll open DRS and head towards Variante Ascari. I don't doubt he'll be challenging Safe for provisional pole position. Curious to see whether or not he takes it. Well, he's not taking it this lap. He's cut a bit too much at turn 8. He's invalidated the run. Dear oh dear. Easy to do though. Around those chicanes, it's very tempting to cut as much as you possibly can. Try and gain as much time as possible. But if you go that little bit too far, yeah, it's usually a slam dunk penalty. Slam dunk invalidation. Down the back straightaway goes Orlando on a push lap here in the Verstappen mobile. Got yellows out, it's Wing It going slowly through the final sector. He'll go back into pit lane. Orlando will make his way back onto the main straightaway and complete this flying lap. Set a 19.9, jumps up to 5th with that. Just a few thousandths behind Stubbly. See the competitiveness in the midfield. From Kryptonic all the way down to Warren, that is 0.4 of a second. That's seriously competitive. Got the obvious front runners though with Saint and Red Devil, and I don't doubt that Vermu will get up there shortly. Curious as well to see what Schulz can do as well. He's been hovering around the top 5 in almost every race so far. I wouldn't doubt that he'll be able to get there during this race here at Monza. Nortex making his way back into pit lane. Orlando, I believe, is doing the same. I just want to check something as well with the lobby settings. Because I just noticed there's Q1 appearing. Okay, that's fine. It is short qualifying. But yeah, it's just, it comes up with Q1 on the leaderboard. I don't know if it's always done that. I don't think it has. If it has, then I haven't paid attention to it. Yeah, that kind of scared me. I thought we might be doing full qualifying, in which case we were going to be sitting here for a long damn time. She was out on track. You see him riding the brake and the accelerator at the same time. They haven't actually patched this out yet, Codemasters, so perhaps this will be a feature all the way throughout this game's cycle. You can ride the brake and the accelerator at the same time. And what that does is generate heat in the brakes. And all that heat radiates out into the tyres. So you can actually warm up the carcass of the tyre just by using that, just by riding the brakes, as Schulz is demonstrating. You don't have to weave the car left and right to try and get temperature into them. Of course, by weaving them like that, it increases the amount of wear that you put on the tyre. Whereas if you keep it nice and straight and just ride that brake, you can minimize tyre wear and make sure you have optimal carcass tyre temperature. Schulz makes his way onto the main straightaway to begin a flying lap. Yet to put a time on the board with 3.5 minutes left in qualifying. It is crunch time for Schulz. Needs to string it together. Down into turn 1. Down to third, down to second gear. I imagine there's a short shift coming. No, he uses all of second gear there at the exit of turn 2. Round curve grande. Absolutely flat out the whole way round. Up towards turn 4. Get on the brakes hard. Bring it down to third gear. Down to second. Short shift up to third. There it is. Fourth gear. Fifth gear. Up to sixth as he heads into the Lesmo curves. Seems that his teammate might be making his way out of the pits, whoever that is. See, with these multiplayer cards, you don't know who's got what garage, but you can tell when someone's teammate's in the pits because of that red icon in the telemetry. That's what that icon means. So when that pops up red, it means that your teammate is currently in pit lane and you can't get serviced. Or serviced adequately, I should say. But it's been a pretty clean lap from Schulz so far. He'll make his way around Parabolica, the final curve, and back onto the main straightaway. Mercedes driver will set a 19.6. He jumps up to third place, and what do you know? He is challenging that sort of top 5 position, as he's done all the way throughout this season. Red Devil out on track, same with Kryptonic as he makes his way towards Ascari. Nortex in front of him, that might be... Oh, I'm not sure who that is. Is it Warren? No. Who is it then? Hunger? No. Who's that Red Bull just in front? It's not Silk Weaver. Orlando? It's Orlando. There we go. This is what I mean. When you got so many similar coloured dots, it's difficult to work out who's who on the racetrack. Down towards turn 1. Seen entry speeds of 221 miles an hour. That was 222 miles an hour into turn 1. Ridiculous top speeds into Variante del Retifilia. I'm getting my chicanes mixed up. My goodness. Up towards the first sector split. 9 thousandths up in the first sector. Not much of an improvement. You're not expecting much though. Only 2 major corners through there. I'm not considering Curva Grande a major corner. It's flat out the whole way round. Out of the second Lesmo. Keep an eye on Nortec as well. He's just behind. Same with Kryptonic. He's making his way out of turn 7. Orlando to the middle sector, up by 34,000. Yellows are out. That is Nortec going slowly. So he's elected to bail. He's probably made a mistake and invalidated a lap as Schulz retires in the pit lane. So his qualifying session is over. Red Devil making his way out of turn 5 up towards turn 6. Currently up by a little bit in the first sector. Kryptonic meanwhile making his way around the final turn and back onto the main straightaway. Will he improve? The answer is yes, he improves by just under 0.2 of a second, but it's not enough to overtake Schulz. He's in 5th position. Orlando a good lap at the end of this session. Currently P3 with a 19.5. Red Devil up by 56 thousandths in the middle sector. Hunger goes P6 with a 19.8. Saint is well down in the first sector. He's going to have to put a really good lap together to try and get that time back. Vermoon, meanwhile, making his way out of the second chicane. Still yet to put a time on the board. Needs to dial it in right here, right now. Kryptonic gets well out of the way. That's really well done. Red Devil, his session is over. 1 minute 19.118. Saint making his way around the final corner as Stubley jumps up to P3 with a 19.4. Just beating Silkweaver, who's done a 19.5. Saint crosses the line, does not improve. That's the benchmark for Vermood to beat. 1 minute 18.744. He's got one corner to go. Needs to keep it within the white lines to make sure this lap's count. He does. Keeps it well within the white lines. Up towards the finish line for Vermood. It's not enough for pole position. He'll start third then for the Italian Grand Prix. 1 minute 19.140. It's Saint and the Audi Saubermobile who will start from pole position. The only car in the 118s Very well done, Saint. Very well done indeed. No one else got into the 18s. Although, out of all the racetracks to take a pole position at, Monza's probably one of the circuits where you might not want to start from pole, because all you're doing is basically punching a huge hole behind you, providing a massive slipstream heading down towards turn 1. It happens, Brody. This game is rubbish most of the time. I know you just sort of made a mistake and tried to recover, but the game doesn't see it like that. So, but it could be worse. Starting from the back means if there's any drama at turn 1, you can try and avoid all of it if you can, because you'll be able to see it happen. So there's a chance to make up positions if you're cautious enough. Results after qualifying then, it's Saint who will start from pole position by a decent margin as well over Red Devil in P2. Vermouth, the championship leader, qualifies P3 with Stubbly alongside him in P4. Silkweaver rounds out the top 5, followed by Orlando, then Schulz. Kryptonic is P8, followed by Emmett, and Hunger rounds out the top 10. We have Badfast P11, followed by Nortec in 12th, Warren in P13. Winger P14 and Brody starting from the back after being disqualified in 15th place. Wingert unable to put a lap time together, a bit disappointing, but it happens. Plenty of areas around this racetrack where you can invalidate a lap time. But no, the midfield scrap, pretty close. 1 second separating P14 down to P13, it's not much. Big old gap between the top 2. And another big gap between P3 and 4. Race time here at Monza. Slightly overcast conditions, but I don't think we should get any rain. If we are set to get rain, I think somebody would have informed me as such. Now, it's been a while since I've done a race here at Monza. I'd imagine medium hard or hard medium is the likely, way to go. Don't think anyone will be using the soft compound tyre during the race unless there's a well-timed safety car, perhaps towards the end, where it offers the opportunity for everyone to try and pit for soft tyres and then send it for the final few laps. I imagine everyone, will be either doing hard medium or medium hard. One of those two. Could be wrong. We'll have to wait and see. Shouldn't be too far away from lining up on the grid. Drivers are just fine-tuning their stuff, making sure they've got the right amount of fuel in the car. Of course, with a decent chance of a safety car, you might be tempted to run a bit less fuel. But of course that comes with its own level of risk. If you are unlucky and you don't get a safety car period, then you're going to be in massive trouble towards the end of the race. Because I imagine around a racetrack like this, where you're spending so much time going flat out, it's going to be fairly difficult to try and save fuel. If you get yourself within DRS range and you can utilise DRS, then perhaps you can try and save a little bit. But if you're on your own, it's going to be some massive lifting and coasting if you underfuel the car. But of course, if there are safety car periods, which, are likely, you can set to gain quite a bit. Drivers are taking off for their formation lap. Let's see who's on what tyre. And what do you know? A fairly huge majority starting on the medium compound tyre. We'll run through the order just quickly again. Saint in the Audi Sauber, starting from pole position on the medium compound tyre. Red Devil is doing the same in P2. So is Vermouth, our championship leader, in P3. Stubbly P4 is starting on the medium, same with Silkweaver in P5. Orlando doing the same in P6, as well as Shields in P7, Kryptonic in P8, and Emmett in P9. Hunger is the first car to start on the hard compound tyre. Bad Faster will start alongside him is on the mediums. Nortec P12 is on medium tyre, same with Warren in P13. Wing It, the only other car in the race starting on the hards. Then we have Brody, after getting disqualified, starting from the back in 15th place. Well, what was that spinning out there? Kryptonic. Bit of an oopsie through the second chicane. Gets going again. No harm, no foul. But yeah, an overwhelming majority of drivers on the medium compound tyre. Only a couple touching the hards. Not terribly surprising. Having a lot of grip early on has its benefits. And you want to keep up with the leaders as best you can. You don't want to fall out of DRS range to the leading group. The moment that happens, you basically take yourself out of the fight. As Kryptonic's passing people to get back to where he was. You don't really have to do that. Just chill out and make sure you get back to the grid. We'll get rid of the tyre graphic then, just to increase the viewing space a little bit. So leaders make their way onto the grid. Saint starting on the racing line, heading towards turn 1. Theoretically, you should get a better start from this position because it's the cleaner side of the racetrack. However, if Red Devil gets a decent launch, he'll have the whole shot down towards turn 1. It's an awfully long run towards the opening corner. To be in the midfield, it's not a terrible place to be. You'll get a lot of slipstream heading towards the first turn. Try and perhaps set up a move. We got 10 red lights. And we're underway here at Monza. It's a nice start from our front row. It's a great start from Vermeulen, as he's challenging for the lead already. Can he find a way through on Saint, though? The Audi's blocking the way into turn 1. Running wide, my word! Who on earth was that? It's Schulz. He's gone completely straight on at turn 1. Off in the runoff area. It's a drama, of course, into turn 1. As we go through the second chicane, Silkweaver getting by Warren down the inside. Warren in trouble, a completely destroyed front wing. I wonder if he, in some way, shape or form, was involved. And Schulz running off the racetrack at turn 1. Wouldn't be terribly surprised. Oh, dearie me, off the racetrack. Look at him, he's a sitting duck at the moment as he destroys that poor little DRS board. Rest in peace, DRS board. You will be missed. Here are your leaders. Saint, Vermeulen, Red Devil. That's your top 3. Stubbly P4, followed by Orlando in 5th. Down towards Curvin, Michele Alvaretto. Brody gets Hunger. Winger gets Nortec. So drivers towards the back, utilising the slipstream well to try and gain positions. Vermeulen might try and do the same right here, right now. He's dumping that battery. Pulls to the inside. Down towards turn 1. Gets in front. Saint won't fight back. Bit of rear locking there for Vermeulen. As he takes the lead on lap 2 of 27 here at Monza. Into the pits goes Warren. Front wing change at the ready, as well as a set of medium compound tyres. Yellow's out, it's Wing It. He's gone straight on. And he's been given a 5-second time penalty for that. Even though he's lost position, the game still gives him a penalty because... of course it does, and he will have to serve that as well. Once he makes a pit stop, he will serve that. Honestly, it might be better for the game to give 10-second time penalties in those circumstances, because that way the game doesn't serve them for you, and you can try and get them removed post-race. Those 5 seconds are always really irritating, especially when you haven't really done anything wrong, as Silkweaver moves through into 6th place. Hopefully these intervals fix themselves. It's been a glitch for ages and it's still a thing. Nah. With 10-second time penalties, they don't serve them. Period. As Vermeulen sets a new fastest lap, 22.130. Emmett goes into pit lane. Interesting. And he gives himself a 5-second time penalty for speeding. On top of that, soft tyres at the ready, as well as a front wing change. So perhaps he was involved in Wingett going off at turn 1. Not sure. But he's now down in 15th place, a long ways behind. The leading duo forming already between Vermeulen and Saint. Red Devil doing the best he can, but he's 1.1 seconds behind. He needs to be within that 1 second range to try and challenge at the very front of the field. Not having DRS it's such a painful thing, really. Because look, he's in touching distance, but he's going to lose about 2 or 3 tenths down this straightaway alone because he doesn't have DRS. See the gap starting to increase, 1.1, 1.2. They're going to hit 1.3. There you go. So he lost about 2 tenths there. That straight away alone. Vermeulen's got a lot of pace. Everyone knows that. So Vermeulen is dragging Saint along. He's got slipstream and DRS. The Red Devil, he's got a lot of work to do. And probably, frankly, needs a bit of luck to go his way to try and catch up to the top 2. Even at this stage. Orlando closing in. He's got DRS to play with as well. Closes in. Whoa! he just strolled on by. Oh, Stubbly got very close to the back end of that car. He got very, very close to the back end of that car. A straight line speed McGee moves on into 4th place. Jeez whiz, that thing was quick. Silk Weaver closing in, but not close enough to pass Bad Fast just yet. Oh, Wingett's gone back in. What's going on? Serving a time penalty. That'll be the 5 seconds that he got onto a set of mediums. I mean, fair enough. Might as well. As we head through the Ascari chicane. That's a very fair point. Bad Fast has done quite well. Same with Brody as well. The Bad Fast from P11 to P6, as Harris rightfully pointed out. Brody too, from P15 to P9, demonstrates what keeping out of trouble does. Even around a racetrack as simple as this, or as seemingly simple. There's not a lot to this track. It's not like a Spa or a Silverstone where you got these really long, fast technical corners. A lot of Monza's just chicanes, but hidden within the simplicity of the racetrack are some nasty little features that can really screw with someone if you're not being careful. As Brody moves through into 8th place. Like those curbs on the inside of the apexes, those orange curbs, they're nasty. Touch them, decent chance your car gets flung up into the air. Especially here at Variante della Roggia, turns 4 and 5. Those little orange curbs and nasty little things. I already touched on turn 7. This corner here. You do not want to run too wide. You don't want the middle of the car sitting on that curb. Otherwise you'll go skateboarding right over the top of it. And it's not a great sensation at all. Ascari, this bit has always been a bit of a nightmare to get absolutely spot on. It's a demanding piece of track that rewards bravery and commitment. But if you go that little bit too far, you fling yourself into a barrier. I've seen that on many occasions. Saint's going to take the lead here. Down the inside, heading into turn 1. So at the beginning of lap 6, Saint gets back in front. Gee whiz for me. Did you have a look down the inside? Sort of so it looked like it. That's an audacious little look there. Could have been quite nasty, but thankfully both of them get through turns 1 and 2 without collision, without colliding. Turns 4 and 5 up towards the Les Mays. Orlando's sitting behind. We'll bring up the telemetry, shall we? Ooh, look at Orlando. Yellow light. It means that he's either dead set even in terms of fuel, or he's under-fueled the car. Red Devil doesn't have that, neither does Vermoo or Saint. They're good with the fuel, but Orlando's got that yellow light. Stubbly doesn't. Well, Stubbly's got a ton of battery too. 90-odd%. He's doing well. Silkweaver down in 6th place. He's still got a bit of charge left. Bad Fast just behind. There's Brody in P8. Kryptonic, he's got that fuel icon turned on too. So Kryptonic and Orlando, they might be in a little bit of trouble when it comes to fuel. Of course, if we have a safety car, completely changes that notion. Down the inside goes Vermoo. Down into turn 1. Saint doesn't fight it. Lets him move on through. Start following him again. Down the inside goes Bad Fast at turn 1. Currently battling Silkweaver for position, who makes a tiny mistake out of turn 2. Lost the back end of the car briefly. Was able to keep it on the black stuff though. That's the most important thing. Who was next? Kryptonic, DK looks okay. Hunger looks okay. Same with Schulz, Emmett, Warren, and Wingett. So Kryptonic and Orlando. They both have that yellow fuel icon. That might be a very important detail to touch on later in the race. Change it to tyres as well. Everyone pretty much is on the same tyres, except for those who pitted earlier for repairs. For the most part, everyone's on the same strategy. And in terms of penalties, only 5 seconds for Emmett, and that was a speeding pen after he was going into the pits for said repairs. Down the main straightaway, half a second separating the top two. Saint with nearly a full charge. Vermoo 78%, so they're both conserving the battery at the moment as Orlando moves through into 3rd place. Silkweaver moves through into 6th place. I think we're going to have a change of position here. Down the inside goes Hunger on Nortec. 10th place is his. That is for the final point scoring position. Bad Fast closing in on Silkweaver. Doesn't want to go for the move. Bonjour Quebec, he says. He closes in on Silkweaver, trying to find a way through. Something you commonly see with these battles. It's usually just back and forth for a bit. They don't usually pass and then build up a margin. That rarely ever happens, especially here at Monza. Now, Saint was about 1.3 behind Vermoo. He's now closed that gap back down to 6:10, so I can only assume that Vermoo must have made a mistake through Ascari. It's ultimately allowed Saint to close back in. Alternatively, Saint must have had the run of all runs through Ascari. Found that time back. Has a look. Doesn't go for the move. 3 wide action heading towards turn 1. Stubbly trying to take 2 for 1 at turn 1, and he does so. He moves through into 3rd. Orlando down to 5th. Red Devil in 4th. Orlando 10th and a half behind, heading towards turn 4. Not close enough to go for a move just yet. But I think at this point you just got to be happy sitting around. Hello. What was the yellows for? Don't think anyone was moving. Oh, Saint! I just caught on. It's towards the front. I was in a different position. 3.1 seconds behind now. Saint's done a major whoopsie. He's now fallen into the clutches of Stubbly, Devil, and Orlando. But to answer that question, Schulz had a incident, turn 1, lap 1. He fired off into the runoff area. I think he might have had help from somebody. But we'll wait and see after the race. He could have done it on his own, but I think he had some help. So that's a bit of a blow right there for Saint. Right on the back of Vermoo throughout the opening stint. Just throwing it away. Silkweaver gets by Bad Fast. Badfast should hang on to P7 and does so. So a few little back and forth battles, but as expected we got DRS trains forming. Those towards the back of the DRS trains have a really hard time making their way through. They're just essentially stuck at the moment. It is it's amazing as well that this sort of dynamic translates into real life Formula 1 too. Saw Carlos Sainz's superb performance at Singapore. I gotta admit with Carlos, I wasn't really sure if he was world champion material. He's definitely a very quick driver, but a world champion, I don't know. But after that performance and the maturity that he demonstrated in that race, and the... Oh, Brody, gee whiz! Somehow keeps that thing on the black stuff. Hard defense there from Badfast, but yeah, unfortunately, Badfast makes his way through. Orlando moves through into 4th place. Red Devil will try and take position back as Silkweaver pits. Down the inside into turn 1. Doesn't go for the move. Stays behind for now. Brody, Badfast, bad contact away there at turn 4. Gee whiz. That could have been nasty, but they were able to sort things out. Badfast briefly on the grass. Cuts in front. Moves into P6. Not the best of runs out of turn 5. Brody's on his gearbox. Kryptonic watching the show in 8th place. Might join him, eh? On board. Round turn 7. DRS open. Brody closes in. Surely he won't go for a move though at turn 8. He's having a look, but yeah, no way you'd fully commit to that. Down the back straight away. Punga, a 3-second time penalty. Multiple warnings. Around Parabolica. Oh, a bit wide there from Badfast. Brody will have DRS. That is awfully tight between those two. And look at Kryptonic. Just past the pair of them. Surely. Brody keeping alongside. He breaks deep into 1. Pulls the damn thing up. And takes 6. What a move. He properly bombed it into turn 1. And he pulled that thing up beautifully. Nortec yellows out. He'll rejoin down in 11th, so he's gone straight on there at turn 1. Losing a fair chunk of time in the process. Penalty being served for Emmett for the speeding penalty earlier. Way leaves. It's a long wait. 5 seconds really does feel like an eternity. Vermouth leading the way, but Saint, he's put the hammer down, closed the margin to 1.7 seconds. But you can see the difference in batteries. We got 68% for Vermouth, only about 30 for Saint. It's a big difference. Saint using everything he has to try and catch back up. He needs to in order to stay in the fight. Stubbly P3, 8/10 behind. Orlando next, Red Devil is in. And he gives himself a speeding penalty. Okay. Brody in too. What a move. I'm going to give credit to this guy. That was a fantastic move around the outside. The most impressive thing is how well he pulled that car up. I thought he was going straight on there. No, he pulled that thing up. Damn near hit the apex of turn 1. Schulz, Nortec making their way out of the pits too. On hard compound tyres. Looking at the gaps, I think we're going to enter a bit of a lull period. So I'm just going to go back to what I was talking about earlier. I wasn't sure that Carlos Sainz would be world champion material. But after that drive at Singapore, I've sort of reconsidered my opinion of him. Because to be able to think like that, to think dynamically, think you know, think in such a mature way and understand that by keeping Lando behind, giving him a buffer and preventing the Mercedes from having a crack at him, it is an incredibly impressive sort of feat that Carlos pulled that up. It was incredibly impressive. Orlando, Vermeer and Stubley into the pits. And they're moving on to hard compound tyres. Silkweaver, Red Devil. Where will these two come out relative to everyone else? Orlando comes out behind. Stubley in front. Margin of 2.5 seconds. That should shrink. It is shrinking. 2.3, 2.1, 2.2. Okay. So Stubley's got margin in hand to Silkweaver. Vermeer's got margin in hand to Stubley too. 1.7 seconds. Now, Saint's going a bit longer, same with Kryptonic and Badfast. Don't think they'd stretch it out to soft stove. I don't think they're trying to do that. Oof. Yeah, I don't think they're trying to stretch it out to a soft stint. I think they're just going a little bit longer on their mediums. Although, I am wrong from time to time. Maybe they might be trying to stretch to a soft stint. Maybe they are trying to stretch it to a soft stint. Wingert in the pit lane. Oh no, he's not. He's making his way out of the pits. Now a lap down. It's not the best situation to be in. But you always got to keep going, keep fighting. Never give up. Because you never ever know. Brody should get by here into turn 1. Red Devil has done exactly that. He's up to 7th and Brody moves up into 9th. There's Red Devil now with a 5-second time penalty he got for speeding into the pits. Yellow's out. Oh, I think that's Badfast going slowly. No, Wingert. It would be Wingert going slowly. He's trying to get out of the way of those two, because he'd be given blue flags at this stage of the race. So he was just doing the right thing. Thanks for the follow, Cab Wizard. Nice to see the bot doing those sort of notifications, trying to keep me informed. It's very nice of it. Badfast closing in. If these two stay out for another lap, Badfast should get by Kryptonic fairly easily. Saint's doing another lap. Looks like Kryptonic might be coming in. He is. They both are. Into the pits goes Hunger as well. Soft tyres I see. Away he leads. Red Devil will move through. Same with Silkweaver and Brody. There's Orlando right behind. Schultz sets a new fastest lap. 1:21.449. So we've got a few on-track battles. Kryptonic, Badfast, a fair ways behind. Schultz, can he get dicey with the two cars in front? Potentially. Not straight away. Those soft tyres are going to be rapid during this sort of opening phase of their second stint, but towards the end of the race those soft tyres should fall off pretty considerably. Brody gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Easy to do. Very easy to do. Vermeer closing in. So we head towards Parabolica. That's fourth gear back on the power. Eventually reaches full throttle. Saint pits. He'll be moving on to the softs. Hunger does the same. Does he pull it up? Does just about. And He should be putting on soft tyres, surely. No, mediums. Well, they're going to be very consistent. Be quite good for 10 laps. 11 laps, technically. So, yeah. Honga's going to be in a decent position when it comes to tyre life and tyre performance. He'll be fighting Schulz for that 10th place spot. Yeah, I agree, Jack. Those soft tyres, they're going to be fairly well done by the end of this race. I wouldn't be terribly surprised if they could make it. Like, they wouldn't be in puncture territory. But in terms of performance, yeah, those soft tyres aren't going to feel great after a few laps. Now, Orlando, half a second behind, still has that fuel issue. Let's see if I can see. Oh wow, hang on. I want to turn this off so I can see it properly. Is that minus 1.49? That has to be. If it's yellow, it has to be. Yellow's out. It's Red Devil. There he is there, going slowly. Alright, I'm going to turn off the telemetry again and look. Yeah, that's a plus sign. Ooh. Yeah, that's plus. That's a minus sign. Orlando has minus 1.5 laps. 5 seconds for what? Ignore what? For passing Red Devil? For passing Red Devil? He was going slowly. Are you kidding? What the hell was he meant to do? Red Devil was at the center of the accident. He was recovering. Oh, for God's sake. Well, if it remains, I was going to say caution-free. This isn't NASCAR. If we remain safety carless throughout this race, he might be able to get that removed. But I worry about his fuel situation. He's minus 1.5 laps to the target. Minus 1.42 to be exact. He's in trouble. What about Kryptonic? Minus 0.69. But he's in trouble too. They're both in trouble. Saint sets a new fastest lap. 1 minute 21.0, and he moves through into second place. Yeah, that's right. Someone banked on safety cars, and we're 19 laps in. Yeah. A couple drivers might be in a lot of trouble come towards the end of the race. Might be in quite a lot of trouble. One driver, though, who looks squeaky clean at the moment is Vermu, our race leader. He's got 4 seconds in hand to Saint. And although Saint will close in, those soft tyres are going to fall off a cliff at some point. Neat little battle here as somebody's pitting. It's Warren. He's in again. 16 laps he's done on those mediums, so coming in for a set of soft tyres, I'd imagine. And he should fairly comfortably get to the end of the race on those. There we are. And away he leaves. Lovely jubbly. Meanwhile, Saint, Stubbly. I think that's pretty much the top 3 set. Unless we do have a safety car at some point, I really don't see this top three changing. Stubbly has a chance to fight for second, of course, because of Saint's tyre predicament. But if Saint can make those tyres last and put himself in an adequate position, he probably has the ability to take second place. Look at this train. Down towards turn 1. Got Brody leading it, then Orlando, Red Devil and Kryptonic. It's behind him is Bad Fast as well on the soft tyre. So they've all caught up on the red ringed rubber. Round the outside goes Kryptonic here at Curva Grande. Have a look down the inside into De La Roggia. Moves through. Oh, a bit slow there from Red Devil. Bad Fast moves through into 8th position. Simple enough exchange. It was a little bit dicey. Brody! Oh, he's thrown it into the wall! And we have a safety car on lap 20! It finally came! It's come at the expense of Brody, who put together a fine drive up until that point. Oh my word. Completely changes the complexion of the race. And guess what? I mentioned this earlier. This is a well-timed safety car. Everyone's gonna pit. You have to pit. With the laps remaining, you got a box for softs. You got a box for softs. I don't think anybody's got a choice. If you want to fire at the front, you got a box for softs. Red Devil. Oh, passes. Hold on. What? He passes. Hold on. You're not... Hey, that's a 5-second penalty for speeding. He passed Schulz into the pits. There's floating tyres right there. Did you see that? On the right-hand side of the screen, there was a set of floating tyres just sitting there. Oh, I see mediums being put on. Maybe some drivers don't have soft tyres left to put on. That would make sense. Or pull it up. Oh, I thought he broke way later than that. Oh, but he still gives himself a DD penalty. Oh my days. You just got to take it easy. Just back it off. It's a safety car. You don't gain anything by sending it in. Not that Emmett really sent it in. He just sort of gave himself a speeding penalty. I don't know what to say. It happens. It happens. It happens. So yeah, everyone's on softs. Because you have to be. You're not given a choice. Minus Schulz and Hunger, because I guess they've already used all their soft tyres. They don't have any fresh sets left, so they're going to chuck on mediums. Which is fine, because, well, they're not going to have any tyre issues, period, full stop. But, as a little note to add on to that, I don't really think anyone on the soft tyre are going to have any major tyre issues from here to the end of the race. So, you know, it's not the worst situation in the world, but yeah, I think in this kind of period, with only a few laps to go, you really do need to be on the softs, and someone's coming in. Schulz. Unlucky, Brody. I think he did quite well up until that point. That bomb around the outside at turn 1 was quite terrific. But yeah, it happens. Especially at the exit of the second Lasmo. I've seen it many, many times. I think I've done it once myself. Just running a bit wide, losing the back of the car, and because there's no room between the edge of the racetrack and where the wall is on the inside, there's no way you can recover it. There's just no way. You can be lucky enough that the car stays relatively intact, but you're going to break something. Whether it's a front wing or a front wheel, it's sort of up to the game. And I mean that wholeheartedly, because there are times where you can fly into a barrier head first, and the most you'll get is wing damage. Yet you can brush up against the wall at 15 kilometers an hour and break a front wheel. So it's sort of up to the game to whether or not you retire out of a race. But yeah, it happens. It happens to all of us. Especially here at Monza. I gotta give everyone credit though. I haven't seen a single screw up here at Ascari. Like, Turn 10 Ascari has been probably the premier hotspot for screw ups during qualifying sessions and during races. It's just that inside curb at Turn 10, it's slightly elevated. So when you hit it, sort of the car becomes destabilised and you can lose the back end of the car. No, stop it, Jack. Hey, look. No, if somebody does screw up at turn 10, If somebody does screw up at turn 10, that's not my fault. By the way, I have no intent to curse anybody. No. No. That's not going to happen. No one's going to screw up at turn 10. Right? No one's screwing up at... No. No one's screw up. No one's screwing up. Now, actually, it's a fair point. Look, Orlando's in the plus again. +2. Plus +0.2, I should have said. So, Orlando, he had -1.5, so he was, you know, he was in a pretty bad situation, but he's now in the good again. And I think, yeah, Kryptonic. Well, Kryptonic not as much. 0.01. He's running very, very even. Double check. Yeah, it's still got the yellow icon, so he hasn't really saved any fuel. He's got to be careful. He's got to be quite careful. You don't want to be running too close to even. You don't want to be running too much, of course, but if you're running close to even and perhaps you're in a drag race out of the final corner, you don't want the car to splutter right at the line. And I have seen that. I've seen that on a few occasions. Hello, Car Park Ascari. How are we doing? Everyone's backed up onto the back straightaway. I don't think we need the tyre graphic for this one. We'll bring up the penalty graphic. We probably need the penalty graphic. Oh no. Please. Oh, I see a front wing fall. Someone's got damage. Look at the end plate right there in the middle of the road. Somebody's got damage. The leader takes off. Out to Parabolica. Well, we're going to find out who broke their winning in a minute. Down the main straightaway we go. We have 4 laps to go here at Monza. And it's almost a second already between P1 and 2. So who's got damage then? It's Warren. Warren's got the missing end plate on his car. So he probably went into the back of Schul's, I don't doubt, and broke that front wing. Oof. These your leaders. Through Variante della Roccia and up towards the Lesmos. Chucking it through the right-hander. Up towards turn 7. Gap sits at 7:10, so Saint's not letting go. Saint will know there's an opportunity here to win, but he needs to stay within that 1 second range when DRS is enabled. If he does that, I think he'll have a shot here of taking the win. Vermeulen has to know that. Is he dumping the battery already out of curiosity? 70%, 54. So Saint's got less, but he's still got a decent amount in reserve. And Stubley under a bit of pressure because Silkweaver is right behind. He's trying to slingshot by here. Oh, look at the speed! They're now starting to even out, but Silkweaver's got the momentum and the inside line. Stubley doesn't go for a counter-attack. Oh, Silkweaver almost does all the work for him. He does! Silkweaver, a poor run through turn 2 allows Stubley to move back through. Hello, Kryptonic. How are you doing? Down the inside of turn 3. The Miami-inspired car trying to get through. Can't find a way through as we head into turn 4. Around the outside, down the inside. And look at Stubley take off. Silkweaver's saying, no, damn it. We need to stay on the back of that car. We need to fight for 3rd, not fight for 4th. With 3 to go. Look at him, he's dumping that battery to try and catch back up. Stubley, not doing the same, mind you. Not quite. 1.1 seconds to gap. Orlando, a 3-second time penalty. His first of the event. 9/10 to margin. Silkweaver managed to get himself back within that critical 1 second range. And I've got to mention, Saint's doing the same. He's used up a fair chunk of battery. Down to 19% compared to a whopping 57 that Vermeulen has with 2 laps to go. It's game on at the front. Vermeulen has given himself an opportunity to try and defend the lead he's got with that battery. But of course, Saint gives him a... Oh! He almost took away that opportunity with that mistake at turn 2. He had a big wiggle there. The gap increases to 8/10. Starting to shrink again. But Saint has given himself an opportunity here. This needs to be a mega middle sector and mega final sector if Saint wants to challenge Vermeulen for the race win. 8/10 the margin as we head around Lesmo 2. Hunger jolting down the order. Something's happened to him. Off the racetrack with a broken front wing. Dear oh dear. Down to 13th. And here goes Wingett in front of him too. 6/10 the gap. 6.5. Up to 7/10 now. Vermeulen, I think he's played it well enough. He's got a huge amount of battery in hand, and Saint is just not quite close enough to try and challenge him for the race lead. Yellow's out. That's Emmett. Off and in the gravel trap at turn 10. Well, I guess the curse was inevitable then. There you go. Only one screw up and they didn't retire, so it doesn't count. Silkweaver moves through into third. 9/10 the margin. I think Saint will probably bring out the white flag now. I don't think he'll be able to fight for the win, but he'll happily take second, I would imagine. We'll turn our attention to this midfield scrap. Emmett retires in the pit lane. Well, I guess the incident technically technically resulted in a retirement, but he didn't crash out. He just had a whoopsie. I'll take that. I will take that. He didn't throw it into the wall. He spun out and then retired after the fact. Oh dear. Like being a commentator. Kryptonic's not quite close enough to attack Stubbly here for 4th, but he might be able to set up a run heading into the final corner. But out in front, yeah, Vermeulen's played it perfectly. Gave himself the opportunity to defend this lead. He's taken it with both hands. Out to Parabolica for the final time. It'll be Vermeulen who wins the Italian Grand Prix. Saint will come home in second, followed by Silkweaver. Oh, here we go. Who finishes 4th? It's Stubbly by 1/10 of a second. Kryptonic will round out the top 5. Red Devil. Could have been qualified second if I recall correctly. Finishes down in 10th place. Not the best of races ever. Bad Fast given driver of the day. Fair play. Started from P11. See how he fared in the final results screen. But for now, it's the podium celebrations, and it's Vermeulen who wins and extends his championship lead. P2 goes to Saint. P3 to Silkweaver. The amount of unrendered track I'm able to see in these shots, that's awesome. Alright, the unofficial results then of the Italian Grand Prix. Vermeulen was your race winner by 2.1 seconds over Saint, who did get faster slap, so he gets that extra point. And Silkweaver completes the podium places in 3rd. Stubbly P4, followed by Kryptonic, then Bad Fast in P6, so getting 5 places over the course of that race. Had a neato fight with the likes of Kryptonic as well. Quite good to watch. Orlando P7, Shields P8, Nortec 9th, Red Devil rounds out the top 10. Yeah, P2 to P10 it wasn't the best race in the world, but it's points for Red Devil. Warren P11, followed by Hunger, then Emmett retiring with a lap to go. Wingett a lap down, classified 14th, and Brody, the only retirement. A game changer though in the context of the race. Allowed us to have quite the entertaining finish to the Italian Grand Prix. Another week in the books, and hopefully next week we'll be back to our regular coverage with the official cars rather than the multiplayer ones. Again, from what I've heard in regards to the most recent patch, the official equal performance setting should be fixed. Should. So, hopefully we'll be able to see these bad boys again when we head into the next round of the championship. Yeah, fair enough, Joe. It's good to hear. But a final congratulations to our top three. Well done to Vermouth for winning the Italian Grand Prix. But I think with everything said and done, it's now time for us to end the stream. I've been Lane Everingham. Thank you everyone so much for watching. We'll see you next week for round 8 of the AM1 Championship at Bahrain International Circuit for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Until next time, it's goodbye.